Hello guys, it's TV here. Welcome back to another video. Today I would like to do a video on the TSA Oxford exam and my experiences of doing it, my score, any tips and tricks I have for both section 1 and 2, and basically all my thoughts about this exam just to help future students prepare for it, having just gone through the most recent set of the 2022 set of admissions exams. I applied to Oxford in the 2022 admissions cycle to human sciences. That course specifically required the TSA exam as one of the many aspects which they take into consideration with interview invites and final offers. The TSA is used in quite a lot of subjects at Oxford, so in my case it was for human sciences. There's also things like PPE, economics, psychology I believe, and there's quite a few that require this exam, and it basically tests your problem solving skills and critical thinking skills at the highest level, and your ability to follow an argument in section 2 through a short essay. And it's basically a short test, well it's an hour and a half I believe, exam which that score they take into consideration when choosing who gets offers. The top students in their schools apply to Oxford and Cambridge, and this test basically tries to separate those at the top of the population out evenly across this standardised test, and it does quite a good job of that. Even though I did sit this exam and I didn't get an offer, unfortunately, and I was quite upset about that, but I've made a lot of progress in terms of moving on. It did get me to the interview stage, and arguably the TSA is quite a significant factor in getting to the interview stage, and then the interview playing quite a lot of weight in terms of how teachable you are in getting the final offer. There's quite a number of reasons as of why the TSA is so important. So obviously trying to separate out those top students with the top predictions and GCSE results. It also allows a fair comparison. So GCSEs and A-level predictions are generally contextualised, and in a way that could disadvantage perhaps the private school applicants. This test basically makes it very hard to prepare for. In my experience, that's really true. It is very hard to prepare for, and in a way it tests your natural knowledge and your natural ability to argue. So in the 2021 TSA paper, I scored 62.2 on problem solving, 59.3 on critical thinking, giving me an overall score of 60.7, I believe. It will just be shown here. And overall, even though it's not the best score out there, I was really proud of myself because of the amount of progress I made. But before I move on, here's just a clip of my live reaction to my TSA score early morning when TSA results were released. Above 60, I need to get. Usually 60 was a good score in recent years. I need to get 60. 60. If I get 60, it's basically I've got a good chance. Like if I get a 70 or 80, I'm basically guaranteed, I think. But I don't know. But then last year, some people above 50 got places. She even recorded?
Yeah.
Can I open my...
She's taking too long.
Oh my.
Fatty. She's wasted 5 minutes of our time. Yeah, we'll have time. We have to go.
That's also.
Ready.
Hurry on,
Shall I
you
just
gotta
open
get
it?
ready.
We have 20 minutes to get ready, I think we should just open it. I think we should just open
Obviously
it.
you're the main one.
Kulila.
It's just the results for the exam
Alright.
anyways. I think it's fine. She's taking too long.
Yes! That's
would you
good.
get?
That's
What'd you get?
good.
You got what? 80?
I got 60.7.
Ooh.
Oh.
I got above 60. Oh, phew.
Wow. And you said you thought we got something like 20.
Oh my days, that's good. So my problem solving, I did better in my problem solving than my critical thinking. So I got 62.2 in problem solving. Critical thinking, I got 59.3. That's a bit
60.
worse, but it averages out to 60.7. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
above
good.
it.
Above 60.
Above 60, that's what I wanted. That's what I needed. Statement of results. Okay, that's good. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I've got a good chance then.
Lisa, he's got a good chance.
It's just like if it was
60,
above, if it
above.
was like under 60, then it's kind of
Come on, have a
not
look.
good.
Look,
Look.
Priya, come on, have a look. Lisa, lean down.
Okay, that was worth it. That was worth it. Yeah, my critical thinking's a bit worse,
No,
but
but don't forget, you need to look at your main overall results that combine the two.
I thought I'd do better in critical thinking than problem solving.
I'm just saying, Johan. Well done,
Okay,
Jack.
yeah, that's
It's
fine.
Good, it's good. Well done.
Okay.
Well done, well done.
Yeah.
Breakdown of my results, I was quite surprised to see I did better on problem solving, because when I left that exam, firstly, I felt completely broken. I felt the exam did not go the way I wanted it to go at all. It was that difficult, and I generally had a prediction that I did better in my critical thinking than my problem solving, and there was a part of me that told me I did get lower than a score of 50. I mean, the results just show you just don't know how you did in that exam, and there's no point dwelling on it. The amount of times I thought about my score across the 2-month wait, I believe, it just kept reoccurring. But there's just no point dwelling on it. Firstly, you can't change it. Secondly, it's so hard to predict how it went. So I guess that's the first bit of advice I'd give out. It's not, I don't really want to be making excuses, but there were a lot of situational disadvantages against me on the day. So because it was all computerized that day, my computer was quite slow, and because it was quite a time constraint exam, you get less than 90 seconds a question in terms of reading and answering it. That played against me, as well as that because I was the only one in my school doing the TSA, I sat in a classroom with my exams officer as the invigilator, and he kept coughing unintentionally, so that also affected my concentration. And there were also quite a lot of background noise. The irony that this classroom was outside a library, the LRC, and I kept hearing a lot of noise because we had a couple of classrooms there that morning, which is annoying, but that was also there. I was also ill on the day, so all these factors just went against me, and to be fair, I didn't really have a good breakfast, so my mind was all over the place. I remember the exact time and everything, so it was a really long hour and a half, or was it 2 hours? I can't even remember, but I'm just moving on from it, to be honest. But after leaving the exam, I was just so certain I didn't do that well. But to be honest, I did a lot better than I should have. So don't let this scare you, but I did every single past paper there was. So I usually did one past paper in timed conditions at home every 2 days. There were some days where I'd do 2 or 3 papers in one day, especially the half term before sitting the exam, because it was in November, the TSA exam. So I did a lot of prep, every single past paper, including the sample ones available out there. And generally, I was scoring my lowest score was about 50, and my highest score tended to be about 58, 59. There were some cases where I think 2 or 3 of the papers I managed to get 62 and 63, but I wasn't getting anything higher than that. So the fact that I got a 60 in the end, with all these disadvantages, and the actual exam always feeling a lot harder, I feel like I'm very proud of how I did. So another tip out there to all of you, for both sections, there's no point doing this many papers. Just stick to a couple just to familiarise yourself with the question types, and the format, and the pressure in that scenario. I definitely overworked myself at the TSA, where I could have invested that time into other things like A-levels maybe. So personally, out of all the past papers I did, for some reason I found the 2021 paper the hardest. Well, as I've just been saying, it might have been because it was the actual thing, but it's not out for me to analyse yet. But if it's out in time, if I remember, I'll leave a link in the description. But if the 2021 paper's out, do have a look at it and do try and skim read it, get a feel for the questions, because I mean, just let me know in the comments below. Does it feel like it's a lot harder of an exam than the other papers? Just let me know below. On results day, there were also some graphs that were given out in terms of our performance. So overall, I'll just put the graphs here. So, I mean, looking at the graphs of this cycle, you could see that I got, for problem solving, I want to be nice to myself and say about average, and for critical thinking, well, I got below average. Overall, giving me below average slightly, I want to say, because I look at the peak and I'm slightly behind it. So it just shows, and no matter how many practice tests you do, it is a test that tests something natural inside you. You can't really change that. And I guess it works because that's what they're looking for. I just remember thinking on that day that, like, nationally, actually it was a global exam, wasn't it? Globally, on the student room that might always go to, there was a lot of comments about how things went wrong on the day, because traditionally it was all a paper-based exam, but in recent years, I think 2020 was the first year where they introduced a computer-based exam, and there were a lot of issues with timing and the format and the setting up of it, and it all just didn't work. Yeah, but in a way, I think they do also contextualize the TSA. So if something went wrong, your centre could have reported it. My centre didn't really, I don't think they reported it, because I didn't really talk about it after the exam. But I heard cases where centres would email and contact Cambridge admissions assessments and tell them what went wrong, everything, and that, I guess, can work. And also, I don't know if TSAs are contextualised with your school. I'd imagine not, because it's a standardised test that's given to everyone regardless of background. But I don't know on that. Regarding tips, well, main tips and tricks part of this video, I'm not going to be mentioning like any of the other tips that other YouTubers have mentioned, just to save you time. But one key thing I would say for definite is do not leave any of the 50 questions blank. Even if you're really short on time, just guess whatever question, because you're positively marked. So whatever questions you get wrong, they don't deduct your final answer. And also be smart about what questions you estimate or guess, because I've noticed that in my past papers I've done, that there seems to be this trend where there's usually at least one extreme answer, not all the time, but one that is definitely not right, and you can basically improve your chance of getting the right one. Like in the real exam, I was just so struggling to concentrate. That's the method I took, and the huge majority of it, I wouldn't say all of it, but about, I mean, again, you don't know how the exam went, but if I had to guess, perhaps 50% of my answers were educated guesses. I don't know, but yeah, I did follow this simple strategy of looking at the answer, considering the context, thinking, well, in real life terms, is it this one? Could it be this one? And just looking at the most reasonable answer and circling that. They do try really hard to make that not occur, but sometimes it's just inevitable that it's going to occur. Regarding the TSA essay, I would really say do not waste any time. 30 minutes to write an essay goes so quickly. I again struggle to concentrate. I just hear everywhere that people say spend 5 minutes planning. I did not plan at all. For an actual fact, I do think the essay isn't really considered that much. Again, from what I've read online, it's mainly the score, and then if there are two marginal candidates, especially in shortlisting, they may look at the essay in terms of who's got the better language skills and go with that. But regarding the essay, keep it as simple as this: introduction, point 1, point 2. Point 2 could be another argument against or for, depending on what you're arguing. Or it could be showing the other side of the argument and then destroying that side, and then a conclusion. Basically, think about it as a paper 2 English language question 5, the non-fiction persuasive writing. But do not sit on the fence and just argue one side, whatever you've got more ideas for. And there is the potential of that TSA answer coming up in your interview. It didn't for me. I have heard it's not really common, but it has happened a couple of times before. So I'd say after the exam, just keep a couple of ideas in mind. All these tips. Shout out to my zero gravity tutor, my mentor, Rachel, legend. You've helped me so much throughout this process. Unfortunately, I didn't get in, but these tips are mainly coming from her. Overall, just be happy. Just do your best. I know that a score of 60 isn't the best, but there have been historical cases where, for human sciences focused, there have been people who have got low as 50 and got a place, and people who get high as 70 and don't get a place. And sometimes I think it's a bit more strict on things like PPE because of the fame. Oxford's known for PPE. It could be argued that they've got a higher leaning point, a higher cut-off point as of where to cut off candidates. But out of the whole process, don't think about messing up. If you mess up the TSA, even though it is significant, it's not the end of the world. The interview does count a lot more, and contextualization obviously is another thing in play. Personally, one of the reasons why I will not be reapplying to Oxford is because I do not want to do this exam again. It is so brutal. Like, a score of 60 is about, I think, 25 out of 50 on scoring, or might be slightly higher or slightly less. But generally 60, if you search up what is a good TSA score, 60 is an average score. 70 is quite a strong score, and the exceptional candidates will get 80. So it's a brutal exam, and I plan to never do it again. So I'll be moving on because of that. Not just because of that, and many other reasons as well. But I do think the main reason I did not get a place was because of my interview experience and how it didn't go that well. That's all in my other videos. If you check out my channel, I've made a bunch of videos on my experiences on my rejection to help you guys out what not to do basically. But that's it for this video. Just give it your best shot and don't do too many practice past papers. That's my main bits of advice. Thank you for watching.